Here at Michigan Family Wellness, we believe chiropractic care and nutritional-based therapies are a foundational part of a healthy family lifestyle. No matter where you're at in the mitten, having a family is such an exciting time of life. So instead of feeling overwhelmed by stress, fatigue, and responsibilities with the kids, we invite you to become part of this empowering community to create happy, healthy families. By providing engaging interviews and practical applications, Dr. Wallner cultivates family health by equipping our listeners with the tools they need to elevate wellness in their own family. Dr. Wallner passionately serves the Michigan community at his chiropractic and nutrition-based practice, where he specializes in pregnancy, pediatrics, and family wellness care. And now, here's your host, Dr. Kyle Wallner.
Good day, families, and welcome home. That's right, my name is Dr. Kyle, and this is the Empowering MFW family, and we are so glad to be with you today. If you are joining us for the first time, I want to thank you for tuning in. The health of you and your family is your number one priority. It is your greatest asset. The best way to have a healthy family is by living a family wellness lifestyle. So, if you're looking for efficient, effective, and sustainable ways to elevate your health and the health of your family, then I strongly recommend you make yourself comfortable because we have an amazing show for you today. And before we get to today's episode, let me say a few words as I do every week about Power Performance Gym. Power Performance Gym is dedicated to helping you achieve your best definition of healthy and strong. Power Performance specializes in strength and conditioning for individuals, small groups, and athletic teams, weight and pain management, as well as recovery and nutrition. Everyone at Power experiences a full movement and health analysis to build your blueprint for success, targeting your goals. Mention the Michigan Family Wellness Podcast to receive your movement and health analysis as a complimentary gift. Learn more about how Power Performance can help you move, look, and feel better by visiting powergym.com. That's POWRGYM.com. Kat Golden grew up in the Detroit metro area and recently returned to the city after living in Denver for the last 9 years. Kat's mission is to always help others feel like the absolute best version of themselves. She works with individuals and groups conducting weight loss programs, help with athletic performance, increased energy, and mindset training. Kat is the founder of 9 Lives Health and Mind. She is also the co-founder of the Be You campaign, a women's self-empowerment program. Kat is a monthly contributor for the Body Book blog and has been a partnering RN with the Michigan 4x4 Health Initiative. She has been a fitness enthusiast for the last decade and believes that where focus goes, energy flows. Focus on gratitude and moving your body and watch how your life can change. All right, families, let's welcome Kat.
Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the live stream today, Kat. Thanks so much for joining us. It's so great
to
have you.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us just a little bit more about what family looks like for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in the Detroit metro area. And I graduated from college in 2006 with a business degree and actually moved to Denver. I went on a complete whim, did not know if I would stay. I ended up staying there for almost 10 years and then just moved back this last year to actually be closer to my family. So family is super important to me. I have 2 brothers who I'm very close with. One is actually moving to Germany for a year, and then my other brother is a nurse as well, just like me. And we live together in Denver, and then he's actually doing a travel nursing assignment in California right now.
Awesome.
And then, my boyfriend AJ owns this coffee shop, he's pretty great. And then I have a little dog, Sir.
Beautiful. Again, just really appreciate getting to know people. You know, when we have these discussions, allow people to connect just on that family level, especially in the context of the Family Wellness Clinic and the Family Wellness Podcast. You know, Kat, another thing that I always ask every one of my guests is, what do you love about the state of Michigan?
Oh, so many things. So I think one of the biggest things that I love about Michigan, and I noticed, especially living in Colorado, and Colorado's beautiful. I love living there, but people from Michigan have so much pride. So it was just really unique when I lived there. Like, I always just felt all this, even though I was in such a beautiful place, like all this Michigan pride, like I was always wearing my Detroit stuff. Anyone that knew me knew I was from Michigan. And so I think just the pride that people have here in the culture and like the rich heritage, and then definitely the diversity. Like, I love being in the city and everything it has to offer, but then like being able to go to the lakes. And I mean, people have no idea how beautiful Lake Michigan is, and just the west side of the state. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
I definitely resonate with everything you're saying about the beauty of the state. My wife and I are actually going to be up in Pictured Rocks camping later on in August. So,
So beautiful.
there's just so much to explore. We could be here all day talking about the beauty of Michigan. And I want to encourage people too, as we see people joining, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to either comment in the sections below, or at the end, if we're able to just save some time at the end with respecting your time, Kat. If people have any questions, we can kind of field them after our formal interview here. But feel free, if you guys want to punch in, just say hello, maybe where you're from joining us. That would be awesome. We would appreciate that. So once again, Kat, we want to get into a real discussion today because, we could be talking about Michigan and family all day long, but we want to talk about some values so that people can actually elevate their health and their wellness lifestyle. That being said, again, one of the things that I find makes these conversations so real, so raw, and so relevant is just by sharing our stories. So as we go there, can you definitely give us an idea of just a little bit of your backstory and what led you into being this health professional today?
Yeah, so I, like I said, I moved to Denver in 2006. So I had a business degree. I was working in actually drug and alcohol rehab, kind of in database administration, like on the office side. And I met one of my best friends there at that facility. And we got super close. And then she actually had a daughter that was born with spina bifida. And so at that time, we kind of both separately decided that we should go to nursing school just to, with wanting to be really passionate about helping people feel better. And then with her having her daughter, so we both went back to nursing school together. And then I was working at the hospital, so I ended up getting a job at Children's Hospital, Colorado, and was working there. And kind of through this time, I had went through a divorce and it didn't end well. And I was just actually kind of at a pretty rough place in my life, like around 2012, not having a lot of confidence, was kind of taking care of everybody else and not taking care of myself, which can be really common in healthcare, I feel like. And one of my friends actually told me to go to this gym in Denver. And I was like, why? Are you like trying to tell me something? And he was like, check it out. Like, it reminds me of you. And so it's kind of like a boutique kind of fitness studio. And so I was like, what the heck? I'll just try it. And when I went there, I just completely fell in love with it. So their motto was, I can, I will. And I just started telling myself that in the gym, but then it just definitely started translating into other areas of my life, and just, kind of like really reframe my mindset. And then when I was there, I got introduced to Isogenics, which is the company I work with now, from the owner's wife. She was 39, had 3 kids, and just looked amazing. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, how do I get some? And she was like, honestly, you're probably really acidic. You probably are under a lot of stress. You need to get rebalanced. And I did that. And then, I think people just kind of started asking what I was doing. And I just ended up really loving being able to help people, like, from the same situation I was in. I especially like helping people in healthcare feel better.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, Kat, just for being vulnerable, for sharing your story. I mean, everything with the divorce and everything with nursing. And, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the Facebook Live, on the podcast here. It's because I really do think you have that unique perspective. You have that traditional, formal nursing background, but then that stands in stark contrast to what essentially you're doing today. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it does, but I think they can be married well. I think you have to have balance. So I love a little bit of both.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into my next question, actually. What do you think is the biggest health issue in our culture today?
Oh man, how much time do we have? No, just kidding.
Exactly.
I think one of the biggest issues that I've seen, in our health culture today, I think I've seen in the hospital, I've seen in the gym, I've seen in like coaching individuals, or in even like the weight loss club we've done. And I found myself guilty of it too, but I think people are really looking for a quick fix. Like, I think our society today, and just the way that we've been programmed, is that we just want a quick fix. People want a pill, they want something easy. And like I said, I've also been guilty of it. But I think, we have so much accessible at our fingertips, which is awesome. But I think sometimes at the end of the day, like, good things, take time and effort, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
To your point, I almost think the prevalence or the accessibility of information is both a blessing and a curse, because there is some really good information out there, but then there's also some really bad information out there. And especially for people who may have, chronic health issues that really require some targeted therapies, they could end up hurting themselves if they make their bone broth in the wrong way, or if they do their organic coffee enema, in the wrong way, So yeah, I would definitely resonate with that and agree with that. Again, Kat, that being said, if those are the issues we have going on, what do you see as the solution? If everyone's looking for that quick fix, what do you suggest people do about that from a practical application standpoint?
Yeah, I think setting realistic expectations is huge. I think that's something that I find really important to do with anyone that I work with, just setting realistic expectations, telling them that it's going to take time and effort, letting them know what the options are and not painting the picture that anything is going to be easy. I mean, I'm talking about even when I help kids at the hospital who, need rehab, I'm like, this is going to be a tough road, and not trying to smooth it over, or, helping people that need to lose 5 pounds can be a lot, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 50 pounds, it can be a lot. And I think setting realistic expectations, and I've been reading a lot actually about kind of choosing pain versus pleasure. And it's kind of you're choosing between what kind of pain do you want, the pain of change or the pain of staying the same. Right. And I think really painting that picture of what's realistic and that it is going to take time and effort, but that it's worth it, too.
And I'll talk about this with my patients just to further illustrate your point. Again, going back to everyone wants that quick fix, sometimes that quick fix really isn't possible, especially depending on the case. But here's the thing. If you stick with it, these therapies, things like, everything with our lifestyle, obviously chiropractic adjustments as well, they are such powerful stimuluses for healing. But you have to do them consistently and congruently for a long time for them. Yeah, to really get, it's like with finances, or it's like with, saving money. It's you got to start saving sometime, and you got to do it for a long time to really reap the benefits. Actually, Kat, I do want to pause our official conversation real quick and actually lob you a question from our live audience here.
Yeah, we have Mandy asking, what is a good first step that you might recommend in terms of a lifestyle change when life just seems overwhelming?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Hi, Mandy. I know Mandy. She's AJ's cousin. So I think this is something that I help people with, and I think there's kind of a couple different steps, and this is a really common question. I think, first of all, you have to know where you're going. You have to set some goals. So I think this can even be hard. And this was something that I really struggled with even after I got divorced. To me, every day was an emergency. If I made it to the end of the day and I was I made it, I'm good. So it can be even hard to even think about goals, to even know what would make me happy, or what do I want to do? So I would say first step is definitely setting some goals, even if it's small, even if in measurable goals. I want to, just say you want to exercise and get moving. I would say okay, my goal is 2 times this week to do some form of exercise or go for a walk or something, something that's concrete and measurable. So set a goal. And I would say don't try to change everything at once. Just start one thing at a time, because if you try to do everything at once, you're going to feel like you're failing, and then that will defeat the purpose. The second that I think is super important that can get missed a lot is, what's your why? And this may take some time to figure out. Exactly. But if you don't have a why, and you don't know, what is important and why you're doing it, you won't do it. And the why also has to be very concrete. You can't just be well, I want to be skinnier. I tell people, I'm okay, we all want to be skinnier. Why do you want to be skinnier? Is it a wedding? Is it a vacation? Did you get a bad diagnosis from your doctor? Is it whatever it is? And it could be dumb to anybody else. It does not matter. If it's important to you, it's important. So really knowing that why also writing that down. And then I think third is like enlisting accountability partners. And I have to do this. My best friend, Lauren, we actually yesterday just texted each other our goals. And I said, this is what I'm doing this week. I do a team call on Monday nights. I say, what are your goals? Like I write down their goals and I check in with them on it. And I'm happy to do that if anyone needs someone to check in. But I think you have to have that accountability and just start small, which is, kind of something else I think we will get into. But I would definitely start with those three things. Set a goal, know your why, even if it's small, your goal, set a small goal, know your why, and then enlist someone to keep you accountable, who will really keep you accountable.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Kat. I think those practical applications are right on point. I would even take that one step further, if you don't mind, just to piggyback off that thought comment. There's essentially this concept called the Stockdale Paradox. Jim Collins talks about this in his book, Could Be Great. And we've mentioned it here on the Michigan Family Wellness podcast before. But essentially, it goes back to, when basically the prisoners of war were in the POW camps over in Japan. And, you had the optimists that would say, okay, well, by Christmas we're going to be out. Or, okay, Christmas would come and go. And they were still in there. And then they would say, oh, by Easter we're going to be out. And then Easter would come and go and they would still be in there. And essentially you had these men that were kind of dying of a broken heart. And so the Stockdale Paradox goes essentially, you have to confront the brutal facts, but you also have to face your reality. So essentially what I'm saying is the emotional heartache that can come when you don't meet those goals like you talked about, but it's still okay. Like that doesn't define you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Just because you missed your goal that week or that month or whatever, that's okay. Like you're still an amazing person. You can still thrive and flourish. Maybe that's a good indication of how more realistic your goals should be, so that we're not constantly beating ourselves up.
And I like to, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And a lot of times, like I use the analogy of a roller coaster. So we can be like on a roller coaster, like up and down, up and down, up and down.
Exactly.
I like to tell people, like, picture a train, like you're just moving forward. Like you don't have to be up and down, up and down, up and down. Like you're just moving forward. Like same thing, funny thing. Like I set my goals yesterday. I like missed one. I'm like, it's Monday and I missed my goal, but like it's Tuesday and I'm just moving forward. Like I'm going to hit it today. Like you just have to keep moving forward. And Mandy commented, seems more manageable. And I think that's key. It has to be manageable and realistic. And comparison is like the worst thing you could do. Like we're all different. We're all on our own journey. Like you think about what's your why, what your goals are. Like it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing.
This is the formal quote from Admiral Stockdale. Okay. So you must retain faith that you will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties. And at the same time, you must confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever that may be. So again, I find that inspiring for myself, and especially when I'm talking with patients or if I'm going to refer someone to a health coach, I definitely tell them, look, set those goals, make them hard, make them concrete, but really don't beat yourself up over it emotionally, if we're really not getting there right away. Because like you said, it is a process, it is a journey, and we're going to be healthier when we get there, eventually.
Yeah, totally. Like even, you were kind of mentioned finances. And like one example I give people too is like, okay, say you have a goal this year to make your goal is $50,000 or $100,000. Which goal would you rather fall short of? $100,000 goal or $50,000 goal, right? Like that still setting it higher and falling short is better than maybe what you would have set or setting nothing at all.
Let's say there's a woman out there listening today, whether on the live feed or on the replay or even on the podcast later on, who is just stressed out of her mind. Maybe she has a few kids and she's juggling work-family balance. Or perhaps she is thinking about starting a family, but she doesn't want to rely on over-the-counter drugs, pharmaceutical medications, and the standard model of cut, burn, or poison, just so that she can spend more quality time with her family, be more productive at work, have more energy, lose weight, sleep better, and cultivate good health for years to come. I know that's a loaded question.
Yeah, that's a tall order.
What would be your advice for her?
Well, I think we've kind of already touched on it a little bit, but the first thing that I would say is that there is hope. Like change is possible. And that's one thing that I've learned. I think over time is that we can get, kind of like stuck in our own head, and, you just do the same thing for so long. It's kind of hard to, just stop and make a change, but know that change is possible and that there is hope. And I think being a woman, even though I don't have kids, I think I know that we try to take everything on. Like, we're like, oh, we can do everything. Like, we're, and I work with moms that were like working, taking care of kids, like, making sure everyone else is taken care of, like that everything's done. And I think as women, we just take on a lot. And then, like I said, like we end up just like with a lot of the nurses that I work with end up being the ones that are last to take care of ourselves. So I think, and this is like maybe a little bit hard to say, but I think also believing that we're worth taking care of. A lot of times, like I'll ask people that, like, do you believe you're worth taking care of? Because when you take care of yourself, it's easy to say, oh, you'll better take care of everyone else, but you have to believe first that you're worth taking care of. So I actually would have my clients write down a couple of reasons why they're worth taking care of. So to any like woman first that felt that way, I would just say, like, take a couple minutes and write down why you're worth taking care of. And I think you might be surprised. It might be hard for a lot of people to find a couple reasons why they're worth taking care of. And then I would go back to exactly the question that Mandy asked and that we kind of answered, is breaking down really small goals. And I think starting with what would make the biggest difference, like what would you feel best about this week? Like if you could change one thing, what would it be? And then I think lastly, because we are all so busy and live such crazy lives, it has to be something that can like fit into your everyday life. And I think a lot of times we're already doing it. It's things that we're already doing. We could maybe just do a little better or a little bit different. And I think it's hard sometimes to see when you're stuck in this situation, like, working with someone and being like, hey, here's some options or ideas. Like, what are things you're already doing that you can maybe just get help doing a little better? Like, one example is, a lot of times now, even tonight, I'm meeting up with a friend and we're going to go to a spin class. And like, I was always trying to make time for everyone else. And then I'm like, exercise gets put to the wayside. But what if like you could do a call or do something while you were taking the baby for a walk, or like, instead of like trying to meet up with friends for happy hour, which is also fun. Like, what about squeezing in a group exercise class or going for a walk together? Just trying to, make changes with things you're already doing. My best friend Lauren has been great at this too. Like, she got her coworkers together and they went on a bike ride on their lunch break and like rented bikes around town, like just things you're already doing, but incorporating those small changes. And those little changes, once you start doing that, end up adding up to a lot.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. There's actually a great TED Talk. I don't know if you love TED Talks. Like
I love TED Talks.
Yeah. So they say neurologically, and I appreciate this, being a chiropractor, is because I just deal with the central nervous system. But neurologically, the way that we develop new habits, the way that we create a new pattern is actually by doing things right after something that we already do, if that makes sense. So, for example, if I want to kiss my wife, Rachel, every time I walk in the door when I come home, one thing they say is like, I always put my keys, on the hook, and then that cues my brain neurologically, okay, now I need to go over there and give my wife a kiss. Simple things like that. Well, awesome, Kat. I know you've mentioned a ton of practical applications already. I'm going to try to summarize. I'm going to try to summarize here real quick and see if I can remember and track with you. In terms, when it comes to goal setting and when it comes to really establishing those new frameworks for a healthy wellness lifestyle, you had create the goals and set the goals, develop accountability partners, people that can keep you accountable.
Yep, even if it's only one's better than none.
Yes, and then also know your why, really establish your why and have that be very clear and rock solid, because that's what's going to carry you through the foreseeable future. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
Absolutely.
100%.
Fantastic. Well, again, Kat, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast, on the Facebook Live. And finally, Kat, where can people go to find more and learn more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for asking. They can go to my website, 9liveshealth.com. So it's 9 spelled out. And I also have a Facebook, same, just 9 Lives Health, Instagram at 9 Lives Health. And would you also mind putting that quote that you mentioned in the comments? And then
yes,
I would like that for myself as well.
Absolutely. We're going to put the Admiral Stockdale quote in the comments below.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Today. Awesome. Have an awesome day. Families, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, families, what'd you think? We'd love to get your feedback. If you would like to email me about anything you've heard on this or any previous edition of the Family Wellness Lifestyle Podcast, you may do so by writing Dr. Kyle at MichiganFamilyWellness.com and take full advantage of the Family Lifestyle audio library at MichiganFamilyWellness.com. Connect with us on social media at Michigan Family Wellness. Thanks so much for tuning in, families. Have an awesome week, and remember, we can do far more together than we could ever do apart.
Now that you've been equipped with the latest in family wellness solutions, we want to encourage you to apply these strategies right away. But the thing is, there's still so much to learn. Connect with Dr. Wallner's Chiropractic and Nutrition Office by going to MichiganFamilyWellness.com and click the newsletter sign-up button to join the informative and supportive community of chiropractic wellness. You will also receive as a gift from Dr. Wallner a copy of Michigan Family Wellness Solutions, an invaluable resource containing dynamic tools to elevate family health and vitality. Michigan Family Wellness wants to thank you for being part of today's podcast. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review.